Greetings. So I hope that you guys are doing really well and thriving. I hope that you are waking up with morning meditation. I hope that you are doing some exercise, some prayer. I hope that you are involved in some sort of support group. It could be Codependents Anonymous. It could be ACOA, which is Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families, or a narcissistic abuse support group. I hope that you are reading the literature on how to heal. I hope that you are going to a trauma therapist. I hope that you are working with a narcissistic abuse recovery coach. I hope that you are really doing radical self-care to heal and recover from this abusive relationship that you are in, whether it would be psychologically, emotionally, physically, or verbally. In this video today, what I'm going to talk about is how to co-parent with a narcissist. And this is very difficult because you're really not co-parenting with them. You can think of it as like you're single parenting and they're single parenting, or parallel parenting. It's not really co-parenting, okay? So one of the first things you can do if you have, been through the divorce and you are trying to parallel parent with a narcissist is to address your own codependence. If you're codependent, then it's very important that you address that, because what's happening is that you probably feel responsible for other people, and then you probably have a proclivity for allowing external forces to sort of dictate how you feel. So if you're co-parenting with the narcissist and you suffer from codependence, one of the best things you can do is to get recovery from your codependence. And what does that look like? A few things. This is just the basics, but learning how to set healthy boundaries and enforce consequences for boundary violations, not allowing difficult people to control our emotions, get in touch and know what your core values are, your boundaries, and don't let others cross or trample on your boundaries. And the more you set boundaries, which is really standing in your truth, the greater your self-esteem will be. Brené Brown says that some of the kindest people she knows are the most boundaried. And remember, by setting boundaries, you are doing radical self-care, and you're no longer allowing yourself to be in the inferior position. You're treating yourself equally as others. And then another part of this is learning how to respond, not react. If you're dealing with a narcissist or a toxic person, they are feeding off your reactions. They really, really like to cause and create reactions in people. And they often use the children for triangulation. Remember, these people don't have much empathy, if at all, so that also applies to the children. They'll use the children to try to control the ex-spouse, because remember, everything for them is about control and supply. And they typically have a scorched earth policy when it comes to kids and sort of trying to co-parent. If you have the audacity to leave the narcissist, this creates a narcissistic injury, and they will try to destroy you. They will often drag the divorce out. If you're going through divorce, they will use the children as pawns. They definitely try to use money to control you and the children. They probably did that in the relationship, and they're going to continue to do that during the divorce. And, some narcissists they don't even care if they impoverish the ex-spouse and the children don't even have enough food to eat. Like they don't care. The thing to realize is that you have no control over what the narcissist says to the children or about the narcissist's relationship with the children. You actually have zero control over that relationship unless illegal things are happening, and in which case that you need to call the authorities, right? So you have to let go of this idea that you have any control over that relationship. And you have to think of it like you're single parenting on your end, they're single parenting on their end, and you have no control over what they do or do not do with the children unless they're breaking laws, right? Or hurting the children, and where the authorities need to be brought in. Remember, these people are driven by power and reactions. So they're like these hungry little beasts. So you as the ex-spouse, when you're trying to parallel parent with them, you need to stop feeding the little toddler beast. Stop feeding them, right? Stop it. That means when you're interacting with them, it's really important to go sort of gray rock, become incredibly boring, become incredibly professional. Treat them like you would a professional acquaintance colleague that you barely know, and you're just being completely professional. Keep all emotion out of the conversation. That means, positive, negative, just keep it very neutral, very professional. Treat them like you would, somebody that's like a colleague, a distant colleague that you're not close to in any friendship sort of way. And respond, don't react. I'm going to say this a lot through this video. You have zero control over these people. You have zero control over the relationship with them and your children. Zero. You have lots of control over yourself. Lots. You have control over yourself, and the best thing you can do to be able to probably co-parent or parallel parent with these people is to address your own codependence, to address your own trauma symptoms and possible complex PTSD. Learn incredibly healthy boundaries. And I recommend reading The Human Magnet Syndrome by Ross Rosenberg. I recommend reading The New Codependency by Melody Beattie. Maybe attend some Codependence Anonymous support groups or adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families. Again, we do not have control over these people. We do not have control over the relationship with the children that they have. It's important for you to set boundaries with friends and family. Let them know that you actually don't want to hear anything about the ex-spouse. Keep those boundaries healthy, and do not give the ex-spouse any information about your life. If you're dating again, if you're getting remarried, if you're doing something different, if you're getting a new job, try to keep that information from them. Obviously, the kids may tell them, and again, you don't have any control over that, and you definitely don't want to use your kids as pawns, right? Another thing that's really helpful, if drop-offs and pickups are a problem, because that requires some communication with the narcissist or the toxic person, you can install a third-party app on your phone for all communication. And what do you do? How do you speak to your kids? Well, I think the most important thing is that you show incredible empathy for them. You maintain healthy parental boundaries with your kids. You teach them about boundaries. You model good boundaries, which of course, that will be easier to do if you learn them yourself. Well, possible to do if you learn them yourself and do some work on your codependence. You validate your children's feelings. You try not to say negative things about the ex-partner to the kids. Protect the kids. Do not gaslight them or lie. Do your very best to protect them. Again, the gray rock method, respond to all communication in a neutral way. Do not feed the narcissist with emotions or reactions. Respond, don't react. If the narcissist is unreliable, and you know this, and they don't show up to pick up the kids when they say they will, then have a backup plan where you're going to do something fun with the kids if that parent doesn't show up. Also, if they have a habitual problem of not showing up, perhaps wait to tell the kids until sort of the last minute, or until whether the narcissist shows up or doesn't. You might want to prepare their bags or whatever, but I don't know. It's sort of a fine line, because I guess it depends upon how habitually this happens. Also, journal a lot. Get all of these negative feelings that you have for the narcissist, like, off your chest. Journal, journal, journal. Get a trauma therapist. Get a narcissistic abuse coach. If you're actually divorcing a narcissist, read the book Splitting by Bill Eddy. Remember, narcissists are attracted to codependence. If you heal and put your codependence in remission, you may never heal it completely, but if you put it in remission, then you are going to have you're going to be less attractive to narcissists, and the more stronger your boundaries get, the less you are going to be attracted to narcissists. They're probably going to do a smear campaign, and you actually have no control over that, unfortunately. But you know who you are. Your friends know who you are. Your honest friends know who you are. you know who you are. So the narcissist doesn't get to tell you who you are. They don't get to invalidate or diminish you. They've already done that for the whole time you were with them. And you accepted it probably because you didn't know you were with a narcissist and you didn't realize that there's such a thing as emotional and psychological abuse. You didn't realize you were being abused. But now that you do, like, they don't get to tell you how to feel about yourself. Again, remember, if you're going to a narcissist to tell you how to feel about yourself, you're literally going to somebody who has the emotional maturity of a small toddler, like a king baby toddler, right? That's who you're going to tell you how to feel about yourself. Somebody that has a very low level of emotional intelligence. They are dumb as a box of rocks when it comes to emotional intelligence, right? Very low level. You're going to them to tell you and validate you and tell you how to feel about yourself when these people don't have empathy. They are gaslighters, they are liars, they are manipulators. So there's no impetus for them to be a supportive, loving spouse or ex-spouse. They just don't operate that way. So stop going to somebody who is ill-equipped to tell you how to feel about yourself. Stop going to them for your validation. You don't need that toddler baby to tell you how to feel about you. Not at all. And let's get to the court system. Courts are typically not doing a good job of understanding narcissism or protecting children from narcissistic parents. They even have a hard time determining who the narcissist is. Unfortunately, the codependent parent often gets manipulated by the narcissist during a divorce, and they are disadvantaged, and the kids often get hurt during this. But it's very important. That's why I really recommend reading that book by Bill Eddy called Splitting. But think of it this way, if you're trying to co-parent with a narcissist, you're not really co-parenting. Just like when you were in the relationship with them, they did not co-parent. It's parallel parenting. And it will help you to remember that you're trying to co-parent or parallel parent with somebody that has a mental illness or a mental sickness or a personality disorder. And so expect the narcissist to be the narcissist. You cannot expect them to all of a sudden change. However they were in the relationship, take that times 10,000 because now they have a narcissistic injury. So they're not going to all of a sudden develop empathy, remorse, consideration for you or for the children. They're going to act in their usual pathologically self-centered ways, but on steroids because they have that narcissistic injury and they're no longer needing to maintain the mask for you because you're onto them, right? So they don't even bother. So all of their ugly really comes out. You might ask yourself, if this is all true, why would a narcissist become a parent in the first place? Well, some of them won't. Some of them actually don't want to have their own kids because they know it's a big responsibility and they don't really like responsibility. They don't really want to have to take care of somebody else. They actually resent that. So some of them just won't have their own kids, but some of them will have kids or they'll get with somebody who has kids. And part of the reason they do this is to look normal. The kids can be part of their mask. They want to look like they're in a normal family, especially if they have a double life of sex addiction, porn addiction, and they could be soliciting prostitutes, or it depends upon how deep their sex addiction goes, but they could be doing illegal things with sex. They have a double life. So when they have kids and they have a spouse, they look normal, right? So they can hide their double life. And then another reason is kids provide excellent narcissistic supply, and they can look like the perfect parent with their mask. They can look like they're just this perfect parent. They have this perfect masks. The kids are like an extension of the narcissist. Basically think of them as like Christmas tree ornaments. That's how the narcissist thinks of them, is like they're an extension of the narcissist. They're not their own separate individual beings. And of course, they're going to try to use the children to control the other parent, even if it's the ex-spouse, because again, remember the way they think about it is if they were with you, they own you. You're their property, right? They never in their minds let you go. They think of you as theirs. They objectify humans. Humans are just things to them. So that's how they look at it. And, if you were in a marriage with one of them, then you know that you were essentially a single parent in that relationship anyway. They never co-parented while you were together. There was no collaboration while you were together. So it's certainly not going to start now. While in the relationship with the narcissist, I'm pretty sure the narcissist you were with didn't know who the kids' doctors were, didn't know who their dentists were, didn't even necessarily know their teachers' names. They didn't help with the feeding, with the clothing, with the care, with the medical and dental appointments for the kids. Now, they may have provided money, right, to look like a good guy or a good girl. They might have provided money, but in terms of the actual day-to-day care of the children, I'm guessing the narcissist you were with really didn't do much in that realm. Now, during the love bombing, they might have done it, especially performative things like volunteering with that kid at their church, at their school, or at an animal shelter. Like, they might have done things like that performatively so that they could tell their parents or their friends or their colleagues that they're like a good parent, but they didn't do it because they cared about the kid. Not at all. The only time that they actually did any sort of parenting with you was during the love bombing. After that, once you were in the devaluation stage, you were pretty much a single parent. You were probably making all the decisions. It was not a collaboration. It was not a partnership. It was not teamwork. And again, during the love bombing, it may have been different, but during the devaluation and the discard, they definitely were, MIA in terms of interacting with the children. Like if the child moved to another city, there may have been 2 or 3 years where that narcissist didn't even see the kid at all, right? That's a true story. So gave him money for rent, but didn't see him at all. Maybe once when the narcissist parent was in town. But these are just some examples that you may have sound familiar to you. So get the idea out of your head that you're actually co-parenting. Basically, you're parallel parenting. This person is going to continue to be a narcissist. They're not going to respect your boundaries, your time. They're not going to respect your parenting. They have zero respect for you because they don't have respect for themselves at the core of it. And you have to expect the narc to be oppositionally defiant. The narcissist has their own unaddressed wounds and trauma that they're not willing to look at. So they're acting out of their own abandonment wound, their own mental sickness. Remember, they are like toddlers. And if a small toddler was having a tantrum, you wouldn't react and get pulled into their insanity, right? You would just respond, not react. Approach them with zero emotion. Gray rock method. Be boring, boring, boring. Again, be very professional when dealing with them. I'm going to read something from the Gray Rock method for how to deal with psychopaths. I'm going to read it. Many of us have tried to end a relationship with a psychopath many times, only to take them back each time. They turned on the pity ploy and the charm because we didn't understand this is what a psychopath does. We fell for their promises to change. They know all of our emotional hooks. For them, it's easy and fun to lure us back by appealing to our emotions. But a psychopath can't change. In fact, when you leave a psychopath, he becomes determined to punish you even more severely for thinking you could be autonomous. Even if we don't take them back, the most dangerous time for a person is when they first break up with a psychopath. The psychopath feels rage at being discarded. Losing control or power over a person is not just a narcissistic injury for them. They feel profoundly empty when their partner leaves, even if they had intended to hurt their partner or they're cheating on their partner. The reason is because they have lost control. Psychopaths need to feel in control at all times. So how do we escape this rage? Well, Gray Rock method is primarily a way of encouraging a psychopath, a stalker, a narcissist, or other emotionally unbalanced person to lose interest in you. It differs from no contact in that you don't overtly try to avoid contact with these people. Instead, you allow contact but only give boring, monotonous responses so that they will go elsewhere for their supply of drama. When contact with you is consistently unsatisfying for the psychopath, his mind is retrained to expect boredom rather than drama. Psychopaths are addicted to drama and they can't stand to be bored. With time, they will find a new person to provide drama and he will find himself drawn to you less and less often. Eventually, they just slither away. Gray Rock is a way of training the psychopath to view you as an unsatisfying pursuit. You bore him and he can't stand boredom. What's it for? Making a psychopath go away of his own volition is one application of the gray rock method. One might say that gray rock is a way of breaking up with a psychopath by using the old, it's not you, it's me excuse, except when you act it out instead of saying it, the psychopath comes to that conclusion on their own. Another reason to use the gray rock method is to avoid becoming a target in the first place. If you find yourself in the company of one or more narcissistic personalities, perhaps you work with them or you're members of your family, it's important to avoid triggering their envy. By using gray rock, you fade into the background. It's possible they won't even remember having met you. If you have already inadvertently attracted their attention and they have already begun to focus on you, you can still use gray rock. Tell them you are boring. Describe a boring life. Talk about the most mundane household chores you accomplish during the day in detail. Some people are naturally lacking in dramatic flair. Find those people, try to hang out with them when the psychopath is nearby. If you must continue a relationship with the psychopath, gray rock method can serve you as well. Parents sharing joint custody with the psychopathic ex-spouse can use gray rock when the ex-spouse tries to trigger their emotions. I acknowledge that any threat to the well-being of our children is overwhelmingly anxiety-provoking. Here's where the gray rock can be applied selectively to draw attention away from what really matters to you. In general, show no emotion to the offending behaviors or words. The psychopath will try different tactics to see which ones will get a reaction. With selective gray rock, you choose to respond to the tactic which matters least to you. This will focus the psychopath's attention on that issue. Remember, the psychopath has no value, so he doesn't understand what is valuable to us unless we show him. Selective gray rock shows him a decoy. When protecting our children, we can take a lesson from nature. Bird parents who have fledglings are known to feign a broken wing when a predator is in the vicinity. They fake a vulnerability to detract the cat's attention from the real vulnerability, their babies. In this example, selective gray rock fades all emotions into the background except the ones you want the predator to see. So that's kind of a long reading, but essentially with the gray rock method, your goal is to be the most boring person that narcissist or psychopath or sociopath has ever met. Do not give them any information about your life, nothing about dating new people or anything like that. Just be so boring and just non-emotional. Treat them like professionally or like a colleague or just very boring. And do not feed them any emotions, because remember, these people thrive on other people's emotions because they're so empty inside and they really are dead inside and they don't have much emotion themselves. And so that deadness inside, they require other people that are emotional to feed them, right? And you do not want to be food. So try to employ the gray rock method if you are trying to parallel parent with a narcissist. I hope you guys are thriving and having a wonderful day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.